Sure.
These are, yeah, these are. Yeah, and like this is probably a reimbursement.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
These are just breakdowns.
Okay. Got the sequence and you got the
Yeah. So here's the breakdown of that. 76. So.
That makes sense.
Rick signs Scott's, and one of us signs Rick. You usually sign I. So.
So how does that roll up?
Then 28 per hour.
Yep.
And then plus mileage.
Got it. That makes sense. And whatever the federal mileage is, right?
Yeah.
And if there's associated expenses for staying,
Yep.
yeah. Certified mail,
Absolutely. So in essence, a reimbursement. Yeah.
One of us signs Rick's and Kyle's, and they sign everyone else's.
Sure.
Got fancy pens. Oh, that one. Well, this is his. Oh, that'd be the back.
Take it to the restaurant. You gonna get some branded pens?
No.
No?
I don't use purple pens. Okay. Yeah, this is kind of sticking at the bottom here. Okay, Zach failed. He failed paperclip holding.
Well, I failed keeping the folder until we had both warrants, so.
Stuff I will not miss. Teacher is gonna use.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't blame you one bit too.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the AP
I will.
payroll warrants.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Did you get the minutes?
Okay. Just hand them this. Hand, like.
Oh,
hand
by
page
page, sure.
No, I got them. Sure.
I have been working to get 2004 to 2013 minutes onto the website, so Google Minutes would be more inclusive. I think I've gotten up to 2007, so.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Do you know about local minutes?
What's that?
Local minutes, do you know about local minutes?
Local minutes.
So Local Minutes is an AI chatbot program that only selects for select board minutes, and it's interactive, so you can ask it questions and it will tell you, and then link you to the original minutes. It's actually really neat. You should, localminutes.org, you should check it out.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's for anyone that's loaded their minutes onto the state, which right now is probably about a third of the towns in the state.
I've done it.
Yeah. Yeah, you should check it out. It's really
Yeah, I
neat.
will do that.
We're just gonna approve these and then it'll be your turn. No, that's all good.
Local minutes, it depends on how well you take the minutes. So I've been trying to take very good, accurate minutes,
Yeah,
because then it becomes easier, answering questions later on down the road.
So you're taking more specific, detailed minutes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, versus the global.
Just an accounting of what happened. Yeah, I try to be a little bit more specific so that we can search for individual people who spoke from, particularly from town residents and stuff. Well, I do what I can.
Do you just then upload from the video recording?
I'm sorry?
Do you upload
Yeah, we put it directly into YouTube.
into YouTube?
Yep.
And then it stays, it's.
Stays forever.
Forever.
As long as YouTube's around. Yeah. It's pretty simple, and it uploads usually very quickly. And then we can set it to, there's all different settings. We just set it to premiere instantly, which means it just comes out right away.
Yeah.
And then it's just on YouTube and searchable on YouTube. We just created a channel for the town of Canton. So,
We are just rocking.
hosting it on our own website would actually get quite costly because of the amount of data. Each one of these
data,
files is
yeah.
like 500 to 700 megabytes. So hosting it on your own website is costly with the amount that it quickly adds up.
Right.
All right, make a motion to approve the 326 minutes.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
You
Okay.
want a microphone?
Hi.
So I guess we'll each introduce ourselves and then we'll go from there. So I'm Margaret Williams, Town of Waltham, Chair of the Select Board.
I'm Dan Morris, also Waltham Select Board.
That
I'm saying to you folks. That Dan Morris, Town of Waltham Select.
You might have to hold it a little bit closer.
Yeah, might have to bring it down
The
in.
pickup's not great.
Dan Morris, Town of Waltham Select Board. I mean, you're on YouTube.
What could be better than that?
Scary. Okay, so we're here to discuss what would be a new MOU between the town of Canton, the town of Waltham. And I just wanted to express our appreciation for the ways in which our contracted road commissioner and road commissioner have worked together over the years. Anthony, very good timing. We just started. So if you want to introduce yourself.
Anthony, Select Board member from Waltham.
Welcome. It's great to see you.
So we started off by, just in terms of process, Chris talked, Chris Lapete, who is in the back of the room, is our contracted road commissioner. And he talked with us and also with Kyle, just wanting to make sure that we have a chance to put into place an understanding around how we work together, so that that would lessen misunderstanding. And so Kyle kindly interviewed, talked with Chris, and resulted in a draft memo of understanding. And so we reviewed at our select board meeting on Monday night, and for the most part agree with it. It's clear, very clearly written. But then we had a couple considerations. And so Kyle, this is like an updated version, is that right?
Yes, so the documents that you have been reviewed by the town of Payne's attorney
Okay,
and reviewed by the insurance adjuster for the town of Payne.
okay. So one thing, I guess, just in terms of the few bullets that I had sent over on behalf of our team here was under section of scope, removing the second sentence, which states that there is a shared understanding that materials purchased in bulk can provide cost savings to both towns and that materials have been purchased in the past with appropriate percentages allocated to either town. We agree with that statement, but feel that it isn't necessary to be in this MOU, because, and Chris can speak to this best, but we use different materials for road treatment, and there's a cost differential. And so we thought to keep things simpler would be, not that, basically to remove that language so that there's not a sense of commitment. But if we decide to do that at any one point, we'll certainly let our road commissioners determine that and come to our respective select boards with that proposal.
Okay.
So in essence, you're asking for a separate agreement. If we were to continue purchasing materials together?
We don't really, they haul their own sand and
Okay,
they get their salt from Barrett's, which is dust that I can't have.
sure.
So, and we haul our own sand.
Got it, okay.
So back when Mike came, everything was out of Virgins.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
it's,
okay.
No, but we've never.
so it's basically about storage and use of the
Right,
vehicles.
there's the only vehicles used
the
is
front
a
end.
loader.
Okay,
Sure, that makes more sense. So we're
Okay.
not,
If we do, if I do ask Rick to run the blower, Rick runs his own tractor and charges us per hour to do that. So
okay,
the only thing that I do is use the loader there, and I mark the time down, I tell Rick exactly how much I use. And with our salt sheds being separate now, I have my own stuff, we don't commingle, as you would say, I mean.
okay, that makes a little more
Perfect.
sense.
That's
Before,
that's
it
really
was a
helpful.
lot harder. Salt.
We're
One
mixed.
part here, one part here.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Okay. That makes sense to delete that sentence
Yeah.
under materials.
I agree as well.
Okay.
Cool.
Under number 2 vehicles above that, we thought it might not.
It might be deleted.
It might be deleted
It might be deleted
already.
because that was, again, the
Yeah.
lawyer's recommendation of that. So,
Thank you.
like I said, he agreed with some of yours, and I
Okay.
just wanted to just,
Yeah.
his copy, and then we agree to the
So that
extra.
was already, sorry, thank you. Okay, good. Okay, so moving to terms and agreements. So for under terms and agreement number 2 is around having the storage facility assessed for structural integrity. And further agrees to reside the building with a color scheme that matches the current Canton Town garage. And the added language then is to match the building and the building code standards. Makes sense.
Yeah, 100%.
So we thought as part of our contribution that this makes sense. We would go ahead and plan to do that.
Okay.
I think that one of the things we wanted to bring up is that we have a quote from a company, construction company in Waltham, that it's gone up. The last time the quote was 8,000 and now it's 13,000 to reside the facility. I think our town would be wanting to do that sooner rather than later, because prices are
Probably
probably
going
not going down.
Right.
There is the issue of a hole in the roof maybe from, I don't think it was from us operating in that building. Oh, okay. So we wouldn't plan, right, to repair that.
That was part of the quote.
Oh, it is part of the quote.
Sweet.
Wow, okay, Chris, well, thank you. I mean, it makes the structure, yeah, complete. Okay,
Awesome.
so, is there anything I'm missing from our discussion about moving ahead with, and of course, we would keep in contact in terms of what, the scheduling and who and et cetera. Yeah, Chris?
On that number two, we discussed about what is the reason for having it tested for structural integrity? I mean, if it collapsed on our salt, we take the salt out that we can, and I mean,
I guess first thing that comes to mind, correct me if I'm wrong, Zach, is that we had to rebuild our sheds because we're so close to Dead Creek that we have to have it be structurally intact so we're not leaking the salt into Dead Creek. So I don't know if that's part of it. So that would be something we'd need to investigate, because that's one of the reasons why we had to rebuild our salt shed. Was
We stored 10 times the salt they ever put in it.
Yeah, well, and so in terms of structural, I mean, we don't really want on Canton property, I guess, a falling down building, but that would be the only thing that comes to mind for me, was that, we had to be really careful about.
We had to have, we used a lot more than they do.
Yeah, well, I guess, I'm sure,
And
so,
our problem was when it rained, it went in there and it washed it out.
okay,
That's why we had to put that salt fence.
Right. yeah, okay. That was the only thing that could come to mind, but, so, okay, Kathy?
I would think the liability of somebody being in there when it came down
Okay,
would be a factor in that as well.
okay, thank you.
well, we're in a roll cage loader, so if it comes down, it's on the loader, not on somebody's standing.
Okay, yeah,
I have a problem with the fact that 4 or 5 years ago, it wasn't safe for us to use, and that's why we needed one reason to build a new shed. And if you look at it, the structure isn't that safe, and even if it come down on the loader, it's still coming down and somebody could get hurt. And I think it should be 100% or not used at all. It's just a big accident waiting to happen.
okay, thanks. So that's just something we're gonna have to, I mean, it seems to me to have it on Canton property, we'd like it to not fall down.
Yeah.
So I think structural integrity would be really important. And again, in terms of, some great points, we certainly don't want to be
Yeah,
liable for
right,
that. And
right.
if it came down on our loader, we probably wouldn't want that either. So go ahead.
Chris, did the quote we have, did the contractor that gave us that quote, he book the condition on the structure?
Last year,
So I guess my question for folks is, what's acceptable for you in terms of the analysis of the integrity of the building? Would you be able to accept the analysis of a experienced contractor?
Of course.
That's sort of the, or are we talking about having a hired engineer to?
No, I think if a contractor told us that it was stable and sturdy and safe, that, that's what we want. We don't necessarily want to impose unnecessary financial burden on you, but we also want to make sure we're protected and that anybody who's working in that shed is protected.
Yeah, and I think from the town of Walpole perspective, we don't want to sink $13,000 in siding and a new roof to have it fall down.
Exactly.
So I think that we'll definitely make sure our contractor indicates that yes, it's structurally sound, or as part of the quote, make sure that those things are taken care of.
Cool, okay, Chris? One more?
Two questions.
Mhm.
Number one, I'd like to see have a structural analysis done by your contractor. I'd like to see it come in writing. So there is something formal that the town has. Secondly, I thought years ago, does the state accept that our old salt shed is acceptable to store salt now?
But we couldn't when we built the new garage.
Uh-huh.
But we could not use it when we built the garage. Remember that, Ray?
No, no. We had to have a new salt shed.
I remember they talked about it. Their biggest problem was because we had it so full of salt, we were running into the ditch. And
Get enough rain, it's gonna run in anyway.
not for all they keep in there.
Okay, Chris, did you have something?
Yes, the quote, I have it right here on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
It was to fix the rafter and the ceiling and patch that hole back, and it was to re-side it. It was nothing to do with the roof.
Okay.
The roof is fine.
Okay.
Okay, thanks for that clarity.
It was to match the green siding for the other sheds. That was, like I said, I can show it to you if you want to see what you put on it.
No, I believe you. It would be great if you could email that to somebody so that we can get it, so we can look at it. That would be fantastic. But,
Yeah,
okay,
we can do that.
that would be great.
Okay. So the next piece was in terms of okay. So if we could go to under terms and agreement number 4, which reads, Waltham agrees to perform any necessary maintenance and repairs on any vehicle owned by Patton that may result in the usage of said vehicle. It's would be okay with removing this because it's hard to define maintenance. Repairs, I think there has been a history of repair if something is broken in said vehicle if used by Waltham. But maintenance is.
Maintenance is where I do the oil changes stuff, and I don't want.
Oh, so doing them too, yeah,
I'd rather do my own maintenance.
okay, because then you know.
I know when it's done and
Yeah.
it's grease.
So should we perform any necessary repairs and just get rid of the maintenance part?
Breaks and repairs.
Okay, we'll just get rid of maintenance and so perform any necessary repairs.
I mean, I guess the way I would see it is, say we're using it and they smash a mirror off from it, getting close to the building or something, we have to fix that.
Exactly.
As far as, it is an older machine, I mean, if you're loading and all of a sudden the transmission locks out, it's not because,
Right.
I mean, that's where I'm getting at here.
Nope, that sounds completely reasonable. Thank you.
Maybe you could think about inserting something that refers to as a result of Waltham's usage of the equipment, or it's one loader.
Yeah, we're gonna so what, if you were gonna rephrase that?
Oh, just in the, where it says that may result from the usage of said vehicle, I might say that may result from Waltham's.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Okay.
I mean, like I said, I just want to make sure that, if we break a mirror or something, I get that, but, if it's some major repair, just as you were driving across the highway.
Right, well, that
Yeah, and
wouldn't be the cause of it, right, and that. Cool, yes,
My biggest concern is regardless, if somebody else is using it, that's getting twice the use that we use it. So that's gonna cause more problem. I mean, honestly, is there a reason why Waltham can't build a small shed in their own town where Chris is right access to it with his equipment? I just think it's so much here that we're all going round and round about that could happen. And, you know, to me, I think you'd benefit putting it in your own town with the guys running down here to get it and everything, you know. I'm just, there's too many things can go wrong.
Okay, thanks for your comment. Thanks. All right, anything else?
Another.
Oh,
Sorry.
After your machine makes set, did you set them by what the current market is or arbitrarily or?
For what we're charging, I'm charging fair market.
Fair market? Did you look at what contractors are charging for machines on construction?
Yeah,
Thank you.
I went to 3 different ones, engineers, Munson's and them.
Thanks.
good to know. And then just lastly is under the length of agreement and termination. So it looks like there was, some updating, Kyle, from the reviews.
Yes.
I think, that as it reads, so we can understand that Panton would want, if our road commissioner changes, would want to know who that contractor is and have a chance to approve.
Yeah.
So we're fine and support in the spirit of that. If the wording is intended to do that, that's fine. It was just a little unclear, but we're just reading this.
I apologize. Yeah, this
Yeah.
came in literally just like yesterday, basically. And yeah, the wording says basically the agreement will remain in effect and goes through a number of conditions. So superseded by another MOU, terminated by either party, or any change in Waltham's contracted services. Or contracted highway services.
Yeah, contract highways, okay.
And
Right,
that was the intention, basically.
yeah.
I know you had mentioned, and I, you know, I didn't want to mention that part. And or Payton's road commissioner. If you wanted to add that in the spirit of.
In effect, is that what that means? I thought that, say highways contracted services, does that mean in effect?
That's Waltham's, but I think that Rhonda had originally indicated that if Payton's road commissioner changed, this agreement would need to be rediscussed or re-agreed to, because perhaps a road foreman in Payton might have differing opinions about this.
Yeah,
Turnabout kind of being fair play there. And I correct me if I'm wrong about that suggestion.
no, you're right. It might be, that it's a or town road commissioner. So that, either party, either town has an opportunity to assess, is this still a working agreement? Okay. So we appreciate that there's a time period, 30 days from the date of termination to remove all property. We talked at length about limited options for a small town to be able to find another place, and we have looked where, if and how it could be placed within Waltham, but we don't have Waltham property that's sufficient in space to do that. So 30 days is a good start. If it could be 90 days, that would probably be more feasible for us than 30. But we would certainly do what the town needs, as promptly as we could.
It'd also be nice if it didn't happen in the middle of plowing season.
Right.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
if this doesn't work out for Canton, for whatever reason, obviously, it goes without saying, like, we're really grateful that Canton is providing this opportunity for us, but if it doesn't work out, we just need enough time to not just move the remaining sand, but to reach another agreement.
Okay.
With another property owner.
Yeah, we'll figure something out that we both can live with, I think. I have no,
The way that I'm reading this is it's 90 days notice and then upon the termination, 30 days extra. So in essence, wouldn't that mean 120 days total?
Is it 9 days, you said? Oh, 90
90
days.
there's 90
Oh,
days
90
and then
days
you have
notice.
30 more days.
So after the
Yeah.
it terminates 90 days, then after that, an additional 30 days to remove.
We just would
everything.
have to and maybe some language to use, it's just, provided that the termination doesn't happen like October 1st, and then you have to
Right.
somehow be
Yeah.
moved, everything be moved by the middle of February, which is not reasonable.
Would you be able to consider giving us 6 months from end of March, or just enough time to, I don't know, when do we get our sand, Chris? When do you order sand? When do we actually get delivery of sand?
We did that 3 years ago, we still have an abundance at hand. So we hauled in 500 yards 3 years ago, and we don't use that much. Mike was the one that did that, so Hampton's actually using our sand all the time, because we're still counting down from the 500 yards that we
Okay.
had to file there, so.
I mean, I think that we can figure something out that's always gonna work.
Yeah.
I mean,
We just brought up the 6 months as being something that we know we could deal with that.
yeah, fine, like
Sure.
at some point between March and October.
Yeah.
Okay. We can certainly figure out language that makes sense, because doing it in the middle of plowing season is just unfriendly at best.
Right.
Okay,
Question, if you want to do that.
go ahead.
Yes, so apparently we're also storing Wolfgang sand. Is that in the big building or is that outside?
It's in both.
It's in both. So, okay, they're paying for the sand, but what about the use of our building to house it? We spend a lot of money on that building. And, that's something too, if we've got their sand covered up, we should be getting compensated also for the use of covering that sand up in our building.
It also sounds
Okay.
like the town's benefiting from using some of that sand, though. The town being Canton.
If we are, I mean, it's just,
Okay, thank you.
Did Patton want to do this annually as a MOU, or do you want to have like a 3-year term and we update it if as needed?
I was thinking that maybe we do it annually for a couple of years and to see if we can find something that's, maybe we're gonna adjust and shift.
Yeah.
Maybe say for over 3 years, do once a year for 3 years. And then if we want, we could sign something that's 3 or 5 years, once we figured out what the best path forward is.
Yeah.
Does that sound reasonable?
Rick,
Cool.
does that work for you? Okay. Yeah, I think that was it on our end.
Excellent.
Okay, so you've got some notes, Kyle, like we can kind of take the draft concepts and then.
Yep,
And then we
I
can
will
just
have
shift
it,
that.
I will make sure the discussion has been updated in this document, and I can be happy to provide further details about anything in particular. Yeah, but it was reviewed by the town's attorney and by the insurance agent, and they found no issues with anything that we're doing or proposing here.
Okay.
Both for insurance purposes and legal purposes, so it seems as though that should be, if we incorporate this language, it doesn't really change anything substantive or
intent of it,
material.
yeah.
I think it's just an adjustment, and you'd be able to change this and provide it to both select boards, perhaps separately for agreement if you want, or you can meet again at some point.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
So, yeah, just one concern, like we've said, we really appreciate the neighborly efforts of Canton allowing us with this arrangement. It's much appreciated with Waltham being a small town. We don't have a full-time road contract now. And so this has been wonderful. We appreciate it. And I think that it's more than fair that we do work on the shed there. Just one concern I have with the agreement is if it can just be terminated on 90-day notice. We invest that 13,000 into the shed, and then 6 months from now, and we've sunk money into the shed, and I feel like that we didn't do our job as select board. And we shall, and it's not that I'm trying to.
No, I think that's
extract
completely
stuff
reasonable. I
from
mean,
you, but it's like we really appreciate this. But that's the problem I have with just the 90, no clause. You could see where we shell this out this summer, and next fall, you're dealing with this problem of what are we gonna do with our salt?
so so that to me feels like something that we can like have a conversation. You should have a conversation about what seems reasonable, and then we can just find a place to meet where we both feel comfortable with that.
I think what that would allow us, let's just say, I don't know if we will or not, but let's say we had to borrow.
Right.
That would allow us to amortize that investment over a period of time.
Okay.
Sort of the same concept, I think.
Yeah, well, and as the building would be owned still by the town of Canton, we would be depreciating that asset over time. Your investment would be counted into the depreciation schedule and then depreciated over a number of years as part of our kind of just general depreciation and asset management. So that would, when you're amortizing it, we're depreciating it, so up and down, and the inverse relationship.
Like, we're just thinking about our voters.
Yeah.
Of course.
That we've done a responsible job for investing the town's money. They're just as a longer term.
Completely.
Wonder if it would be sufficient to add additional language in that clause that stated, if the agreement's terminated within X number of years, so much is due back to.
Something like that. So we just have to figure that out.
Okay.
So that makes sense to
Yeah.
everybody.
Right.
You're not locked in if you decide to go in a different direction.
Right, but then we'd have to
But then
give you a return on your investment.
Exactly.
Okay. That's a good idea. So we'll figure out what that language is and,
Yeah.
on this end, and then we'll figure a place that makes both towns work.
Debbie?
Is there, and I don't know, there might be, but is there a reason why we just can't lease the building to them? And then we won't have any of the words about it, it will be their lease and we should do it for 5 years, I don't care. And then they do what they want to do with the building. And they make it as safe as they want it to be, but it's a lease, and it's not something that's under our thumb. To me, that would eliminate a lot of this going back and forth.
Okay. Certainly, I wrote that down. We can certainly have a conversation about that.
All right.
Cool.
Good. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you guys for coming.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Rick, I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Good unless you are a good viewer, yeah.
Yeah, I'm good.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much.
Nice to see you all.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Okay, so I think Rick's here. So we can let Rick, who wants to be tree warden, is here.
Yeah.
Well, you need to get the mic back.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. I think it turns off.
All right, want to go to Rick? Talk about trees? You good? Okay.
Rick,
Hi, Rick. Thank you very much for joining us.
Sure, I'm so sorry not to be there. Can you hear me okay?
All good?
Yes.
Yes.
Great, great. Well, thanks for inviting me in.
I think the select board, Rick, was just interested in a little bit about yourself and your interest in the position. Mostly because the tree warden does have, at the moment, some somewhat significant grant funding behind it that would be kind of, working with the town for, with some financing behind it, so to speak. Approximately 16,000, although we did just apply for a little bit more. So it could be as much as $22,000 in funding to accomplish the work of the tree warden.
Sure. Okay. So again, thanks to everyone. I am just a bit of background. I've been to a couple of meetings. You might recognize me by sight. My wife and I are fairly new to Panton, just since September. I'm in New York now because we're selling our house and completing our move up there. But I'm answering the call for volunteer support that Kyle put out in the last few weeks. Just knowing there are a lot of positions still that aren't filled, volunteer positions to help the town. And while I'm not a tree expert by any means, and I think people need to understand that, but I have done a lot of tree work in the suburban New York area and have planted, I don't know, about 250 trees myself, and I participated in a lot of tree maintenance and things like that. And then certainly what I understand a part of this is helping Kyle and the village out with this grant. I know a little bit about it, but I haven't seen all the details, but again, certainly am willing to put in the time to do that.
I'll add, Rick, and I didn't get a chance to tell you this, but the previous tree warden has offered her support for knowledge and resources, and has in fact provided me a number of things as well. So she's definitely on board with helping whoever takes this role over, and with the administration of the grant in particular.
Sure. Okay. I understand as well, looking through, reading through the whole job or position description, there are other duties. I'm not sure how often they come up regarding taking down shade trees and getting the town's permission to do that. So I don't know if that is actually something I should be expecting, which would be fine, or if that was, those instances just don't come up that often. So I guess that's a question I have.
I mean, they're rare, but they do come up, and that would be under the tree warden's purview, so it's
Sure.
possible. And
That's
we can
possible.
guide you
Okay.
along as a past tree wardens too, so.
Super. Okay, thanks.
When's the official move back to Panton?
Oh, well, I get back Friday, thank heavens. But yeah, we're just, we've been there since September and loving it. And, but just we have stuff we have to close up on this end. So yeah, I'll be back up in a couple of days.
Nice. Thanks, Rick. Well, I appreciate you putting your name out there. We don't have any other candidates for tree warden, do we?
There are no other candidates for tree warden.
Yeah.
Okay.
Want to make a motion or table to nominate?
I'm good. Yeah, we can nominate. I'm comfortable with somebody who wants to come in and tackle the job.
We don't need any major background checks. Rick, but yeah, we'd like to, if you're okay, we're gonna go ahead and nominate you for tree warden for Panton.
I'll second that.
Third.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations, Rick.
Well, thanks. And the next meeting I'll come by and introduce myself again.
That'd be
Thanks,
great.
thanks
Thank you.
everyone.
Thanks, Rick. Have a good night.
Thank you, Rick.
Good night.
All right. We're back up to, I think we're at 6. Agenda item 6.
So.
Okay.
That's you, Kyle.
Yes, special town meeting plans continue to go well. Tonight is our first charter hearing for the charter amendment, and we'll be leaving regular session to accommodate that and then entering back into regular session. We will need election volunteers, so any folks who are interested in volunteering for the elections, reach out to the BCA again, and we'll reach out to other folks who volunteered in the past just to make sure that we're fully staffed. The nomination petition deadline has passed. We have 3 candidates for office, one for the 2-year, one for the 1-year, and one for both. Person who's running for both. Those candidates are Robert DeGraff, Chris Delacruz, and Debbie Brace. I am checking, and no offense, Debbie, but I am checking with the VLCT, just to make sure if we were to win both, how that works. So, stay tuned. Yeah, that's the status of that. The select board mentioned wanting perhaps a candidates night. Now that the deadline has passed and we have our 3 candidates as part of the next select board meeting, would that be something you're interested in?
That would be great, because we can talk to everybody and have them have a chance and put it out on Front Porch Forum so that people can come and hear them.
Yeah, great. And Andy Kirkcaldy from Madison Independent will be reaching out to them as well.
Awesome.
As I spoke to him today. The Addison MOU with the traffic lights was signed by the Addison Select Board and is now lodged in the town clerk's office, received and documented. Thank you very much for that. The accident on Hopkins Road, unfortunately, the driver was uninsured. And I only discovered this now lately, this week. The town doesn't list guardrails as part of our property schedule with passive. Investigating this option for the future, but it's kind of a tough road to hoe on that because it would be, not a lot of towns do it and it would be quite costly to us. It would add probably more to our contribution than we would actually get back. So I'm still investigating it to see like what the thing would be, but I'm working with the state's attorney office on restitution for that. We're trying to reach the driver himself to see if I can like talk to him, like have a letter. The amount is $3,100. The options are basically that he pays us somehow, or that he is imprisoned and works it off in jail. And this was told to me by the state's attorney's office, so it's not anything that I have a preference in, of course, or the town sues him for the amounts, for the damages. Those are basically our options.
Have we tried to reach out yet?
I haven't been able to find an address. Apparently, yeah, it's not even, the police report addresses might be incorrect. So I'm gonna do my best this week to try and reach him.
Okay. We would license or no?
I don't have a copy of the license, no.
The police don't?
The police did, but I guess the address might be incorrect, is what I heard. So I tried to inquire from people who in the community who might know him to be able to reach out and see, but I haven't had much luck in that direction either. So there's several addresses listed, and it's where he actually is. There's a couple different things.
Okay.
Okay.
But I mean, the amount is worth pursuing. It's
Yeah,
sure.
Agreed.
Yep.
Significant percentage. Our audit is currently in process. The auditor has been here for 2 days now. She has one more day in person. Everything is going well in terms of organization, finding materials for her, making sure that she is happy and comfortable doing her work. And auditors don't really talk about their audits as they do them. So we've had several productive conversations about best practices for the town, but the individual audit is still going to be kind of wait until we get the financial statements. There is a zoning permit that was filed by Thomas Saltis, I believe his name is. He owns property, Vermont Auto Glass, which is right across from the town garage. He was filed for a home occupation level 3 permit, which would allow him to do more business and have employees on his premises to do business at his premises. The reason I mention this is because the town is technically in a butter in this situation. We are right across the street from him. In talking to the zoning administrator and the road foreman, both the road foreman and the zoning administrator think that there's no issue, that there will be minimal, if any, impact to the town of Panton, and that the town of Panton is fine as far as that goes. But technically, have to inform you as we are abutters in this situation.
Okay.
In answer to a previous question from someone, I believe Debbie, the wood from the ash tree removals from Valencourt will be given to the landowners along the right of ways in which the ash trees are cut. If they don't want it, the plan is to remove the wood to the town garage and or the stump dump. Rick is open to suggestions, but provided it doesn't increase any insurance liability to the town. In years past, what's happened is that wood has gone down there and then people show up with chainsaws and splitters and they're doing it on town property, which is like intensely dangerous and we don't want any part of that. So he's open to suggestions and, send them to the town clerk, whatever. I'll be happy to take suggestions and we'll make a plan for that. But it's the first, she's sitting right there. The first offer will be to the landowners upon whose land, even though it's in the town right away, upon their land, they get first crack at that. The chipping is available, and I didn't know this actually, it's great. Rick has chips available for any town resident, and you can go to the town garage and get chips. There's a big pile in the back. All the chips from Valancourt will be delivered to that same pile. He turns the pile like once a year. It's actually great mulch. So any town resident in Panton is welcome to go get wood chips from the town garage to be used on town projects. He has a big, huge pile there.
Awesome.
So,
Good to know.
yeah. And I believe that is it for me for right now.
Debbie, you want to comment? No.
Yes, I was just wondering, you keep saying Valancourt. Is that gonna be put out for
No,
bid?
so the quote, and I apologize, that should have been part of my item here. The quote was less than $15,000. The town purchasing policy requires that the road foreman or the person soliciting the job get at least 3 quotes for the job. He did, Rick did, and Valancourt came in the cheapest.
And you have them in your,
I'm sorry.
and you have the quotes, the town clerk does to file.
Valancourt was on file. One of them Rick still has, and the other one he was unable to reach for the service. So that was, and that's the quote process that generally goes through. If he's not able to reach it, it still counts. He has documented that he tried to reach
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they came in the cheapest, and he did try for quotes. Someone in Bristol, I can't remember the exact name. But
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Kyle.
Okay. Agency of Transportation Structures Paving Grant.
yes, so these are the structures grants that the agency of transportation grants that we will be applying for this year. We will put our hat in the ring for the paving grant, probably won't get it too far down the line, so to speak, that will come in a couple of years. We are, like I said, and have repeated at previous meetings, in pretty good shape for getting a structures grant. All signs point to yes, we can't guarantee it until we get there. Applications are due the 15th of April. My application is basically done and ready to go. But we need select board approval, obviously, to be able to file for this. It would be 2 separate. Be that the agency, 2 separate structures and 1 for paving. The structures grants are approximately $104,000 put together. One of them is for $49,000, one of them is for $63,000. Those would be replacing the culverts on Panton Road, what the town identifies as culvert 1 and culvert 3. Ideally, the town will get both of the structures grants. And the agency of transportation representative knows this and knows that we want both the grants, and it's possible because it's less than the $200,000 grant cap. It is possible for us to get both grants, and in fact, would be likely if we received one and not the other, for the reason that we could do the projects at the same time. And Pan Road would only have to be shut down for 1, maybe 2 days, but 1 day was the quote we got. Again, this was a quote from a contractor. Again, the contracted amount of the quote was less than $15,000. Rick received 3 quotes. Acker Construction came in the cheapest, and they told us that they could do it for not this total amount quoted. The total amount quoted includes everything in the project.
Correct.
I believe Acker quoted us almost about $10,000 for the project or so, for the excavation of the actual project, with the materials and other things to be bought by the town to do the work. The town's component of this would be an in-kind match of 20%. That would be taken care of by Rick's hauling material, Rick and Jeff hauling material, loading material, trucking material, and working with the contractors on site as necessary. Would far exceed the 20% necessary, not far, but would exceed the 20% necessary for us. As I said, Pan Road would have to be shut down for approximately 1 day, hopefully not longer than that if we're able to get both projects done at the same time. In terms of the paving grant, unlikely that we're going to get it. We're still going to apply for it. It would be approximately the full $200,000 and would allow us to pave 2 miles of road. And the plan was Jersey Street from the Addison line all the way back to Pease Road, as far as we could get with the $200,000. Again, unlikely to get that one, but we're still going to apply just because. So I would ask for the select board's approval on that, with the signatures verifying the fact that we spend more than $300 per mile for each mile of class 1, 2, 3 town highway in the municipality, and then allowing me to submit the grant application to the state agency of transportation for these 3 grants.
Okay. Make a motion. Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve the agency of transportation structure and paving grant applications.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes, please. I guess I can also update the board because I did just have this meeting on the FEMA funding and situation. So, the town had storm damage approximating $71,000, so we're in that neighborhood for FEMA. Bob Groff and Rick had been the points of contact for that. Bob Groff has stepped down. I've taken over as contact with FEMA. I met with the FEMA representatives the other day, had a very productive meeting. Basically, we're down to needing a hydraulic study on one particular culvert. The rest I was able to figure out and get everything done, and that's basically, we're in line for getting that. Hopefully May is what the Agency of Transportation has said. Once we get that, that's the last piece of documentation we will need to submit the claim to FEMA. And so we're hoping that this all gets done before June, because in June, the FEMA local representatives pull out and they head back to wherever place they came from originally, and we would have to deal with the FEMA office out of Connecticut, which would be a much slower and more laborious process. And so we're really hopeful that we get all this done before that, but it's the backlog at the state for getting these hydraulic studies is pretty significant considering the amount of damage that was done in the entire state. So,
Right. Okay. So we could look at the grant policy revision and the passive grant.
Yes, so. I sent you, as requested, a copy of the grant policy in emails, changing the language, allowing for the select board to reserve the right to rescind any grant or grant application applied for by the clerk treasurer or deny the future application of any grant that might be made by the town clerk. Change that to add that to the bottom of the grant policy as requested, and submit that for approval with, obviously it's just a.
What's the chances of us actually getting the money after we jump through all the hoops?
There's no straight answer to that, unfortunately. The fact that everyone agrees that the fact that FEMA is still engaging with us, talking to people, talking to other towns, is a good sign. And that seems to be kind of the universal agreement among clerks and treasurers and other folks who are doing this work. And to a certain extent, what's happened is that FEMA provides the state of Vermont a big pot of funding, and that has already kind of happened. So what we're doing is we're going through all the steps with FEMA, and we're making sure that this is all done. And then what FEMA does is say, okay, you checked all the boxes, we're going to submit that to the state to make sure, and then tell the state, as far as FEMA is concerned, you're good. And then we deal directly with FEMA, the Vermont Emergency Management Association, and the state legislature treasurer's office, basically, who then says, okay, we're going to pay you out at the percentages that you are going to get.
And the state does have the money in the bank for it?
Most of it, some of it, there's no straight answer. I've heard that they do from other towns that have already received FEMA funding that were further along in this process. But, the federal government, I was just talking to somebody today, the federal government has clawed back, what they call clawing back a grant from another organization, a nonprofit, actually working at American. They've taken back thousands of dollars in funding. So who's to say what they're going to do? And that's unfortunate that I can't be more specific about it, but yeah. Believe me, I'm feeling it too, because it's $71,000. That represents approximately 10% of our highway. St. Johnsbury, for instance, they had damages totaling 100% of their highway budget in 1 year, one storm, 100% of their highway budget, $3.6 million. We had $71,000, so in some sense, we're a little lucky, but still not great, obviously. Nobody wants to be left holding the bag.
Some of the other towns.
I'm sorry?
Some of the other towns are real concerned.
Yeah, and they should be, to be honest, and it's a sad state of affairs, and that the uncertainty is really tough. Thank you very much, sir.
Anything else with grants? That was, did you have another?
Yes, the passive grant. So the town of Panton gets to apply for a passive grant. Passive is the town's insurance. basically what they'll do is they'll give you half of whatever item that you can have that will improve your insurance outlook. It will correct an insurance kind of thing that you think. Like if you didn't have a fire extinguisher, you might be able to get a grant to provide you a fire extinguisher. So in Penton, we're actually really good. We're really, really high. We don't have many outstanding items. One of the things that we do have outstanding is a guard for our drill press. We have a drill press in the town garage. It needs a guard, a plastic shield basically, to guard a person from kickback of materials. We don't have a guard on that material. I priced one out. It's approximately $250 or $275. Passive will cover 100 or 50%. So, you know, that's, you know, what is that, $100 and something that we don't have to pay basically, 120.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just asked the select board to allow the town clerk to apply for the passive grant for the purposes of finding a drill guard for the town garage.
Okay, I make a motion to allow the clerk treasurer to do so.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And Zach, I just need your signature on the bottom of this. Under senior municipal official signature and printed name and official title.
The senior. Senior member. Okay. All right, moving on to agenda number 9.
Yeah, so appointments. I haven't received any, besides the people who are currently in place. And I'll have one to add at the end of this, but I'll talk about that in a second. Basically, so we took care of the tree warden. That's great. The ones that are really kind of standing fire on this one, unfortunately, are the Addison County Solid Waste District representative, the Addison County Regional Planning Commission, and E911 coordinator, Green Up Day chair and co-chair. Excuse me. And those are the ones that we have people in place who have said that they want to continue in those positions. The town clerk has been satisfied with the work of those people in those positions. And so I would suggest perhaps that the select board consider them because I've received no other proposals. The addition is that there's meetings coming up that if they do participate in, they can't vote or really participate in because they wouldn't be official members until they're reconfirmed by the select board.
So it's solid waste, regional planning, Green Up Day, and E911.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, so, and we have people in place that are willing to continue?
Yes, Paul Sokol for Addison County Solid Waste Rep.
Yeah.
Addison County Regional Planning is Jamie Dayton. Green Up Day coordinator is Paula Moore. Co-chair is Louisa Giovanella. I'm saying her last name right.
Yes.
And E911 coordinator is also Paul Sokol.
Okay. I make a motion to appoint all of these people back to the jobs they are currently doing.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The other one, Sharon's here. Sharon, you mentioned EMC last time. Still interested? Okay. Do we know what Bob Groff had in mind to finish up? Is he completely done or is he kind of?
He's completely done.
Okay.
Yeah. The only thing with the EMC I didn't mention, and I was going to talk to Sharon later if she wanted to still be concerned about this, is that there's a level of training that you'd have to participate in. It would be free, but it would require a commitment. You'd have to do incident command level 100, which is through the state, and there are training opportunities available for that. And you would also have to do, there's one other, and I can't remember it, but incident command was really the big one. And then if you wanted to participate any more in like the regional emergency management coordination, it would require a higher level of incident command training. Okay.
I mean, I do have I have background.
Okay.
It's not like totally new to me.
Okay. Well, I will make a motion to appoint Sharon Ashcroft as our EMC.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, Sharon.
Thanks, Sharon.
Thank you.
And so what we have,
Get to
just
wake
we have,
Cole and be the EMC now.
Oh,
Yeah,
excellent.
If you want to stop by the town hall, Sharon,
We just have
I have a
advisory
box
board.
of stuff from Bob Groff that's technically, I guess, town property, but you know, you obviously benefit from it, and it's a bunch of different EMC related materials.
Yeah.
The only ones left outstanding here, and I saved until last, are DRB Mary Rudd is leaving. She's agreed to stay on until after May 15th. Bethany Brady doesn't want to continue with another term. So we now have 2 people on the DRB that need to be reappointed. Bethany has also agreed to stay on at least several more DRB meetings to kind of make sure that we, get some posts. I can make a specific post on Front Porch Forum about that. I know some other people have reached out to others in the community and asked folks, but yeah, the DRB ones would be pretty significant. Because
maybe
they would have a quorum, but only just.
So Bethany's going to stay on. We don't need to reappoint her?
So she's only willing to stay on a couple more meetings.
Okay,
not
so
a full term.
I think the way to move forward with that then is to specifically post on Front Porch that we are looking for whatever 2 or 3 members for the DRB.
2 members, yeah.
2 members, and that we'll be taking names and.
Yeah, I agree with Teresa.
Yeah. Great.
Cool.
Okay.
Excellent.
All right, want to recess the meeting for the charter amendment hearing?
Okay, do you wanna, are we still?
Yeah.
We're still recording, okay.
This is informational only. This is
Okay.
just a meeting an informational hearing, basically, to discuss the charter change amendment. I can start by giving some background if you want, and then proceed if you want, or you could take it however you'd like to go.
I think we've gone over it. I don't think we need to rehash
Yep.
what is involved. I think I'd open it up if anyone's here who wants to speak to it. Sharon?
Yeah, I just want to mention that, I'd like it to be in the minutes, that the question that is before us now, for the people that signed the original petition, that was the original question, this is not the same question. I want them to be aware that what they're voting on is not the same question that they petitioned for, it's been modified. Okay, so there's been a couple of things added to it. So just so that they're aware that that has happened, one of the things is that the, what are the 2 things? The one is the timeline. If the petition to recall is submitted within a certain amount of days of a town meeting, it would happen at the town meeting. Well, no, that's fine. And, I didn't really think that needed to be spelled out for people. That would seem to me to be an obvious. That's in the law already. It's doesn't need to be spelled out again. That was my opinion. And then the other thing is the number of votes required. So let's say whatever person they were trying to have recalled, that person, it would have to go back to the election that they won, and there's language in there describing how many votes are needed based on how many votes they got at that election that they were elected. It's just makes it really difficult. If you're really serious about adding this to the charter, you're almost shooting yourself in the foot by making it so difficult. There's a number of towns that have this recall paragraph in their charters. Some of them have that language that you guys have decided to add, and some of them don't. It's about 50-50.
Okay, so my understanding is, Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong, is the original petition, there was something that wasn't, so this was actually drafted by the select board.
Yes.
And the original petition, there was something it wasn't in on time or something.
It was a time issue.
So this.
You did not get the correct information on the number of days. We thought it was 47 days, but because of the way of the public hearings, the 2 public hearings that are required another 60 days. And we did not get that information from the Secretary of State's office. It's not printed anywhere.
Okay, so but all I was trying to say is we didn't change your language. This is the language the select board put out.
No, yeah.
So they're not the same. They're not the same.
Oh, you guys came up with your own question.
Correct.
Based on our question. Added to it. They could have left it as the question that we petitioned, but
Yeah.
they didn't.
It's also our understanding that we kind of put this forward as an option to kind of bridge that gap, like otherwise, I mean, because of the missed deadline, and again, misinformation with that did happen. Like we kind of put this together as a compromise, like ideally, we didn't have to put it through because of the legality of it, but this is kind of what we came up with as a board to insert and have as an option. It's important
Yeah,
to
but
the
I
town.
thought that's what the public hearings were for.
This is a
So
public,
that you
yeah.
can discuss back and forth, you know, do you want this in or not? Nobody asked the petitioner what they, how they felt about it, you know, this
So-
select board just went
Yep.
ahead and came up with their own question, you know, and they didn't talk to us about, you know, we were pretty specific about the question that we wanted to vote on. And this is not that question. I just want the people that signed that petition to be aware of that. Okay, in case there's any confusion, I didn't want them to have any confusion.
Yep, and I would say, and you probably would know well enough to do that, is one, before we have it, mention that on Front Porch Forum as they're going in to vote, so voters can
Yeah,
realize that.
I was gonna put it on Front Porch Forum, I haven't done so yet, you know.
Yeah.
Remind them that, yes, we have a petition, the question that they'll be voting on is not the question that they petitioned for. It's a little different, you know,
Okay.
these two items have been added, you know, the time frame. And, you know, I mean, in my opinion, why even bother with all this, you know, I think if you're gonna make it so difficult that it's not gonna be able to happen, you know, it's kind of futile, in my opinion.
Yeah, we took it as, we just wanted to make sure due process for all around. So that's kind of where we come in.
Yep.
With that thought. But I understand, and definitely worth posting on Front Porch Forum, so they know that. Yeah, Kathy?
Okay, I would like for you to explain to me, one, if the select board term is for 3 years, or any elected position, okay? To recall them, they have to have the same number of voters, total voters, vote, yes or no, to recall them or not? Like, we had 170 votes this last election, okay? And the tally came out 78 to 85. So how many voters would have to vote to remove the winner of that election?
86.
So 86 for example, Reese getting 85 votes, you'd need 86 to remove them.
You don't need the 170 people to come out to
No.
vote?
So only the people that voted in favor of that person.
Correct. How many votes that person received?
Yeah.
And do you, Kyle, have on record 3 years ago?
Yes.
What the vote count was?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's all.
that's state law.
Is that would come from
Yeah,
the
that
state
would
as
be
well, I
on
believe.
Yeah.
Secretary of State.
Now, am I right in that what you're proposing can be amended at these hearings?
The select board, under the state law, the select board can make changes up to 20 days before the special town meeting to this document. Yes. And the document would have to be rewarned and reposted, various places, but yeah, they could change it up to 20 days before the special town meeting.
Because I would really like it to go back to the original petition and not have to have a set number of votes. If the majority vote to remove that person from office, then the majority wins.
Yeah, I mean.
However, that's gotta be.
I do understand what you're saying. This isn't your petition, though. This is what we put out as a compromise. And if you all want to file that petition again, you're welcome to do so. But it seems to me, and I'm thinking back to the days when we were having 10 o'clock on a Tuesday morning town meetings, and budgets were being passed by 18 or 20 people because people weren't able to get to those meetings, that it seems to me that if it was any majority, you literally could have 12 people come in to remove somebody, and that doesn't seem fair either. So it seems that we'd like to have it be some sort of reasonable percentage of the voting population.
Yeah, it should be a big deal to remove someone, so we want to make sure that was due process all around.
Well,
Good.
I disagree with that statement in the fact that, one, it's voted on by Australian ballot. So if you cannot be here, you can get an absentee ballot vote.
Okay.
Yeah.
People can vote no on the question.
Yeah.
You know,
And then
if they don't
make
like this
yeah.
question versus the one they signed the petition for, they can say, no, we don't want to do it that way.
Absolutely.
You know, and we'll submit another petition in a timely manner this time with the same amount of signatures and go back to our original question.
Okay,
Yeah.
They can do that.
Perfect.
Debbie?
Yeah, and here again, it takes a lot of time to just get to something that, you know, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. It should be, put it to, a warning. This is when you're gonna vote. And you can come and go by Australian ballot and majority rules. If, only 50 people show up and 40 say get rid of somebody, or 40 say keep somebody, majority rules. It should be by Australian ballot, at a special meeting, and let's just keep it simple.
Yeah, I mean, you can't force people, so if there's only 20 people show up, they'll.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, you can't force people to come in and vote that, you know, aren't, have never voted in town, they don't care about anything else. So, I mean, you can't really do anything about that.
Okay.
Or have no clue of what it's about and go
Yeah,
out
yeah.
just because somebody said, oh, go vote.
Yeah, yeah. Well, like I said, I mean, Sharon said it perfectly. You can vote no on this and resubmit a petition.
Yep. Okay.
Any other comments? Okay.
All right, so are we gonna?
Motion to go back into
Regular session.
regular session. Close the hearing.
Public comment?
Anyone else?
Okay, so we're gonna shift into executive session to discuss HR and employee issues. So we thank everybody for coming, and we have to stop our recording.
Oh, yeah, 6:55.
Yep. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Motion.
Oh, make a motion to invite Kyle into our executive session. All in favor? Aye. Make a motion to move out of executive session.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And I make a motion to adjourn at 7:10.
No decision taken.
Oh, sorry, no decisions made during executive session.
Yep.
And it's still 7:10, and I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Let's go on localminutes.org. You gotta say it right. Yep.
All in favor? Somebody want to?
Aye. Second.
I'll second.
Aye.
Whatever, at least you want it, you got it.
Yeah.
Get your name on the.